Fukushima prophecy. Pacific Ocean warned will turn to blood after Japan nuclear disaster breaches the gates of hell. Pacific Ocean warned will turn to blood after Japan nuclear disaster breaches gates of hell. A truly alarming research article circulating in the Kremlin today, written by scientists from the Federal Service for Hydrometeorological and Environmental Monitoring Ministry, warns that the entire Pacific Ocean region that comprises 1/3 of the Earth's surface is in danger of being subsumed by two marine species of red algae whose exponential growth has now been accelerated due to a never before known, quote, internal planet atmosphere, end quote, being released as a result of the 11th of March 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant disaster in Japan, and that, if not mitigated, will cause this massive water body to turn, quote-unquote, blood red, kill everything within it, and make it unnavigable. According to this article, Hydrometeorology and Environmental Monitoring Ministry, Rosgidromet, the doctors and scientists of this Rosgidromet are the Federation's experts on hydrometeorology, a branch of meteorology and hydrology that studies the transfer of water and energy between the land surface and the lower atmosphere of the Earth, whose main central focus of study is on what are called atmospheric rivers, that they describe a narrow corridor of concentrated moisture in the atmosphere, which are typically several thousand kilometers long and only a few hundred kilometers wide. Past research projects for the benefit of the Federation of Rosgidromet has been in the guidance and control of these atmospheric rivers in an effort to effectuate positive controls of precipitation, that is rain, over certain oblasts, that's certain territories and regions, suffering from drought. In other words, cloud seeding, weather manipulation, geoengineering. Working closely with the Ministry of Defense in their drought mitigation efforts, the article continues, in 2011, shortly after the Japanese nuclear disaster in Fukushima in March, Rosgidromet doctor and scientists were given access to the Ministry of Defense's Luke-class satellite data over the Pacific Ocean region in order to track and monitor the airborne spread of radiation, most particularly how this radiation would affect atmospheric rivers. On January 31st, the article notes, satellite data received by Rosgidromet doctor scientists began to record abnormally high levels of radioactive sulfur emanating from Fukushima, and that was followed 2 days later on February 2nd, with Japanese authorities reporting that 2 of their radiation-protected robots had been destroyed, and even more concerning, their discovery of a mysterious hole measuring 2 meters in diameter with a metal grating at the bottom of the containment vessel in this nuclear plant number 2 reactor. While these abnormally high radioactive sulfur readings emanated from Fukushima were of a heavy concern to Rosgidromet doctor and scientists, what followed this past week on the 23rd of February raised these concerns to an unprecedented level when these readings exploded off the charts, but with Japanese authorities only admitting that a mysterious fire had broken out at this crippled nuclear plant and them giving no further information about this. In describing the levels of radioactive sulfur being spewed from Fukushima and beginning to circle the globe, Rosgidromet doctors and scientists could only explain it was the gates of hell being opened, as no modern scientific literature has ever theorized about such enormous levels of sulfur being present in the deepest parts of the Earth. The leading one of the doctors and scientists to suggest that a China syndrome event had occurred where the Fukushima nuclear material had melted down to an ancient deposit of atmospheric sulfur never known about before. To the dangers of such catastrophic levels of radioactive sulfur being spewed into the atmosphere, the article warns, is due to the airborne nature of algae, most dangerously a marine species of red algae discovered in Japan in 2014 called Congracilaria babae, that when exposed to radiation has explosive growth and, like all other marine species of algae, thrive on sulfur. But even worse, the article says, was that in 2010, a discovery was made showing that a marine species of red algae called Plocamiocolex puvinata had lost a key gene to stop it from rapidly replicating, and that was further discovered too in the marine species of red algae called Plocamian pacificum. Critical to note about the Plocamian pacificum marine species of red algae is that it is an intertidal and subtidal algae found all along the western coastlines of North America in the mid to low intertidal zone and subtidally to depths of 40 meters, meaning that as it grows and spreads, destroying oxygen levels and killing everything in its path, it remains hidden, but whose effects were beginning to be felt by 2015, with the collapse of this region's entire fishing industry due to mass die-offs and many other strange anomalies occurring there as well. But to the greatest fears of Rosgidromet, doctors and scientists, the article explains, is the combining of the Japanese marine species of red algae, Congracilaria babae, with North America's west coast DNA sibling Plocamium pacificum, and that should this happen, especially with the Pacific Ocean's atmospheric rivers being inundated with massive quantities of radioactive sulfur from Japan's newly opened gates of hell, quote-unquote, a red algae catastrophic event would occur, turning all waters it touches into red blood death zones. Red blood, quote-unquote, because the algae bloom looks like red blood in the water. And that not only would affect the oceans, but would even come into inland areas where these atmospheric rivers flow and precipitation comes as rain and snow. And as if this Rosgidromet research article isn't frightening enough, these doctor scientists made it even more scary, apocalyptic in fact, by having the Department of External Church Relations, DECR, write an addendum to their findings in order to find out if there were any historical and religious counterparts that could be examined so that more insight could be gained. The DECR, of course, obliged to these Rosgidromet doctors and scientists, and in their over 300-page addendum to this scientific research article noted that the Holy Scriptures did, in fact, predict a future time when 1/3 of the world's waters would be turned to blood red, quote-unquote, and who cited as their evidence two passages from the book of Revelations. Quote, "And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed, and the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of water, and they became blood." Revelation 16:4. DECR religious experts in the addendum further noted that the Holy Scriptures words, quote, "fountains of water," end quote, as used in the book of Revelations, warning, are comprised of the ancient Greek words pigi, meaning pigazo or source, and idor, meaning water, the source of water, and that when combined from the meaning of water of the deluge, from where this blood red water will come from, and that matches the historical account of Noah's flood, where it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, flooding the entire world, and whose water came from what we now know as atmospheric rivers. There's a chart here indicating waning and prevailing floods. The scriptures, Genesis 7, Genesis 8, flood begins on day 1. Day 40, ark is lifted off the ground. Day 150, the ark lands on the mountains of Ararat. Floodwater sources are restrained. Day 224, tops of the hills were seen. Day 264, raven is sent out. Day 271, dove is sent out the first time. Day 278, dove is sent out the second time. Day 285, dove is sent out the third time. Day 314, waters were dried from the land. And day 371, the land had completely dried out. And you could read that if you want on your own. There's details there as well in the notes sections. As to the previously unknown existence of modern science of an internal planet atmosphere of sulfur, DECR religious experts in their addendum to this research article further state that this has long been known and written about by all of Earth's most ancient people, and in Christianity is a deep underground realm called Hell, Sheol in Aramaic, or Gehenna. The Roskildromet research article concludes that these doctor scientists giving no prediction for when their worst fears might be realized, and is seemingly echoed by DECR experts in their addendum, who just simply note that every day God expects us all to remain watchful for these things, and that, at least to us, sounds like a good advice. I'll leave links below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.